Thanks very much. My name is Regan. I'm the Director of Coaching in Ballyboden St Enda's. I've been full-time coaching now in the club since 2002. I've also been playing in the club since I was 5 or 6 years of age, so lifelong member of the club. I'd like to thank the Coaching and Games department here in Forbairt today for asking us to come over and present our case study at the national conference. I suppose when we come to these conferences, it's very important that all the workshops we go to and all the keynote speeches we go to, that we can all take one or two things back to our club. So hopefully, whether it's you're a club with 5 teams or a club with 50 teams, that one or two things that we present here today can be useful for you within your club. I'd like to just, my fellow speakers today, we've introduced Paul McLoughlin, who's our Games Promotion Officer in the club, and Paul will be speaking to you now shortly. Our case study today is called Building Coaching Capacity Within Your Club. I suppose our main focus is building youth coaching capacity within the club. And we've divided into 2 strands. The first one is recruiting youth coaches in the club. So when we're speaking about youth coaches, we're speaking about recruiting under 16s, minors and under 21s. And then the second part of the talk then is going to be a coaching initiative that we started last year, a pilot program last year called the Forbairt coaching program. And the Forbairt coaching program is basically when we have the youth coaches recruited within the club, is how we develop them and how we upskill them and support them as a group of unique coaches that we want to see as being our future coaches within the club. So Paul will speak on the recruiting part of the building process, and I'll speak then on the Forbairt program itself. Just briefly, Ballyboden St Enda's is a relatively young club. We were formed in 1969, a South Dublin club, and demographically we would be in a highly populated area, and where that brings us, it's kind of obviously recruitment and stuff like that is very good for us, and our numbers are high. That also brings about its challenges, and challenges would be in terms of facilities and challenges in terms of challenging for our coaching resources the whole time. So we need to keep recruiting and keep upskilling our coaches. And one of the things that kind of prompted us to do this pilot program and to recruit youth coaches was a survey we carried out 2 years ago in our club nursery, where we found that 8% of the parents of the kids in the club nursery came from a GAA background. So 8% of our parents either had played the sport before or had coached the sport before. So we kind of said, okay, we need to do something to supplement these volunteers, supplement these parents that are coming in, helping out and coaching. We need to bring in coaches who have experience and who have played the game or have played the game to assist them. So that's why we went in, we targeted these under 16, under 18, under 21 players and got them into the club. So Paul's going to speak now for a few minutes on the key ingredients to recruiting these kids and what different aspects and different things we use to recruit the young coaches. And I'll come back in then and speak on the Forbairt program itself. So it's going to hand you over to Paul.
That's great, Brian. Thanks very much. Yes, so as Brian mentioned, my name is Paul McLoughlin. I'm the Games Promotions Officer in Ballyboden St Enda's, and I've been in that role since 2005. And I suppose, you know, in 10 years that I have been in the club, there's been a lot of changes. Brian's mentioned some of them there already. We're certainly from an area where, you know, there's a big population base, and while that's great, you know, for recruiting kids, and we've no problem there. Certainly we've a lot of demands on various aspects of the club. Brian mentioned facilities, but also coaching resources is a part of the club, which is really what we're push behind. And it's certainly a challenge because, you know, as mentioned, less than 10% of our nursery parents having a background in GAA. Well, straight away there, you know, your alarm bells are going off, and that wouldn't be a scenario that we would like to see continue. And certainly we would have some very good coaches who don't have a background in GAA, but normally they're the exception as opposed to the rule. So that's why we look specifically at these young coaches who are playing their active week in, week out, as being something that can help us meet this challenge of not having a lot of experienced coaches. So what I've looked at here is the key ingredients which we see necessary to try and attract these young coaches down to help out with the teams in your club, whether it's your club nursery or whether it's with your under 9s, 10s, 11s teams. These elements are all part of the recruitment process, and you know, some are more important than others, but a good mix of them will be of huge value to your club, and making sure that you pay attention to each one will help when you're trying to attract these young coaches down. So we're going to go through each one of these individually, and we'll have a better idea of what we're talking about. So the first thing is the players themselves. So this is your target audience. You're talking about the under 16s, the minors, the under 21 players. We picked this, we could pick younger or older, but we picked this age group for a number of reasons. And you know, especially because they're actually playing in the club. You know, they're active week in, week out, and they have that tactical side of the game, which, you know, some of the parents would be the first to admit they might be lacking in. So they're a huge benefit to these parents when they come in because they can help them on that side of things. Also then, you know, they are at a time in their lives where they're getting involved in different aspects outside of their own coaching or own playing career. And you know, 16, 17, 18, they're looking at what they might be doing in the future in college or doing when they go into their future careers. So, you know, by getting involved in something like coaching, or in Ballyboden, getting involved in the coaching side of things, gives them the skills that really look good in their CV and might stand for them if they're thinking of going on doing things like teaching and so on. So, really important that you target this group. Also, we would see them as being massive role models within the club. And, you know, for these kids when they come down and look after them and come down to coach them, you know, they look up to them, they admire them, and straight away that has a benefit for the team that they're coaching, but also for the kids themselves. So, and recent enough there, I was chatting to a dad who was chatting to his son who trying to find out of the son who he thought might be a good person for his sponsor for his confirmation, and you know, the young man wasn't too sure what did the sponsor mean, what that person had to do, and he basically explained to him that it's someone that you admire and you look up to, and that you have a lot of time for and respect. So the kid thought for a minute or two who might be a good person that would be a sponsor for his confirmation, and he said, well, what about Connor? And the dad was kind of wondering who Connor was, because I was trying to think uncle, aunt, cousin, you know, some relation that might be called Connor, and he said, Connor who? And he said, Connor Mack. And he was talking about Connor McCormick, who was one of our senior hurlers in the club, and also a Dublin senior hurler and an active coach in the club. But you know, this kid thought so much of Connor that he thought he'd be a great person for his sponsor for his confirmation. Now, it certainly wasn't the answer the dad was expecting, but it just shows you that the light that they hold these kids in, these kids hold these coaches in and these players. So it's very important that, you know, people out there, you guys that are, you know, juvenile chairmen or coaching officers in your club, or even you're the managers of the under 12, 13, 14 team, you have to make contact with these people. You can't expect these young coaches just to come down to your training session and offer their help to you. So it means either calling up to their training sessions and asking them as a group, you know, is there anybody interested in coming down and helping out as a coach, or asking your juvenile chairman or your coaching officer to go up and to target them. You know, so very, very important that you go out there and ask them in the first place. So following on from that then, what we've identified then as another very important element in the whole process of recruitment is your club nursery. So, you know, most clubs at this stage would have a nursery for their 5 and 6 and 7 year olds. And why that works really well as a recruitment tool is because it's normally where we get these 16 and 17 and 18 year olds in at the start to learn their trade or learn their coaching skills, because it's not a massive commitment for them. Normally the nurseries run over an hour on a Saturday morning or Friday evening. So straight away for the 16, 17, 18 year old, it means that it doesn't interfere with their school schedule, it doesn't interfere with their own training schedule, and it certainly doesn't normally interfere with their own match schedule. So they can come down, they can do their hour, and that's it. That's a good selling point to these young coaches to try and get them involved at the start, and to see that as a huge commitment. But then moving on from that, then they get in and they like the coaching, they progress on up through the ranks. And certainly there would be, you know, some players that mightn't like to deal with the little ones, and in that situation then you're looking at trying to facilitate them around your under 12s, your 13s, your 14s teams, some of the older groups where they might prefer to be coaching them. But they need to be aware at that stage then that, you know, there's a bit more commitment, might require, you know, training during the week or possibly a match at the weekend. So again, the coaches there of these teams need to realise that these people, these, you know, 16, 17 year olds have their own playing career and their own school schedule, and trying to work around that. But certainly club nursery is a great place for them to start off their coaching career. So then just moving on, another really important part of what we see in the recruitment cycle is your club camps. So what we're talking about here is mainly your summer camps, your Easter camps that are run, you know, during July or August. Most clubs at this stage would run, you know, a week or 2 weeks of cool camps or club camps. And how these work for recruiting coaches is because, well, certainly in Ballyboden, a lot of coaches will come in at the start of the season, you know, whether it is in September or in January, with the view of, you know, saying to themselves, if I help out in the club, if I give a week or an hour over to the nursery on Saturday morning, then I might get a week's work come July or August. And certainly both myself and Brian work run our summer camp Ballyboden, and we would make sure that it's the coaches that are helping out with the teams during the year, they get the work, they get a week's work or 2 weeks' work during the summer. And straight away it's a big motivator for them at the start. They come in at the start of the year thinking, okay, if I put in this work, I might get some a week's work during July or August. But then start to like it and enjoy the coaching, and then it, you know, although it is a great reward for them, it doesn't become the main motivator. But certainly, you know, your clubs should look at who they're employing in your summer camps and who are the people. Whether you've got 5 coaches or 10 or 15 coaches, you try and work around and give them that work and give them a reward for the effort that they put in during the year. And we would then use that group of summer camp coaches or whatever it is, that we would use them as a big target audience to try and keep our pool of coaches going. So then following on from that, we were looking at here coach education. And you know, coach education is probably an essential part of the whole cycle here. Not necessarily in trying to recruit the young coaches down to help out with your routines, but definitely in trying to keep them active and keep them involved. Because, you know, there's no point in you asking even a young coach or any age coach to come down, help out with a team, and then, you know, not give them the tools to work with and let them leave them off to their own devices straight away. But they will suffer, and the team they're coaching will suffer, because, you know, I mentioned these young coaches that have great, you know, great technical and tactical side of the game because they're playing week in, week out, but they might lack in the communication and the organisational side of things. So if they can't manage a group of kids or manage a group of players, well, straight away they're not going to enjoy the session, and that might be a reason they might decide to give up. So you have to get them in. You run a foundation award course with them, you run an award 1 course, and they attend the club workshops throughout the year, and straight away they're getting the tools with which to go out then and coach at a higher standard, and that means then the players themselves that they're coaching will get much more value out of it. So, you know, any of you guys in your club that you make sure that every year and the foundational award course is run. Certainly me and Brian would deliver them in Ballyboden, but just because you don't have a full-time person to deliver the course does not mean, that's not an excuse not to do it, because, you know, it's a matter of just saying, picking up the phone to the county board, saying to them, I have 10 coaches, 15 coaches interested in doing an award 1 or a foundational award course, and then it's up to them then to provide you with a date in the calendar to come out and do that course, because that's their job. So, you know, very important to get it into the coaching calendar every year that you run a foundation award course, and then to progress on, do the award 1, do the child protection, and attend club workshops during the year. But certainly very, very important part of keeping them active and keeping them coaching. Finally, the last key ingredient or element that we've identified as being very, very important in this recruitment cycle is having a link with secondary school. So what we're talking about here is, you know, having a link with the transition years in your secondary school. So, but me and Brian would run what we call our TY program, where we go into one of our local secondary schools, we run a foundation award course with them, and over a number of weeks. But the important part is that after we've run the foundation award course with them, that we link them back then into our local primary schools, but also link them back into our club nursery, where then they can come down and they do a bit of coaching, and, you know, and they complete, you know, they do things like GAALearning awards in transition year. They can fulfill their GAALearning award requirements in your club nursery every Saturday. So we're going to play a video clip here now in a second, which will show you, you know, what the course is all about, and we'll deal with it then afterwards. Any questions? Okay.
The GAA Transition Year Foundation Course Programme has been running now since 2005, so we're in our 10th year this year.
At the start of the year, Brian and Paul from Ballyboden came in to teach us the GAA Coaching Foundation level course. We started off with theory classes where we worked individually and in groups, learning the key skills to coach the kids. We then moved down to the gym where we did practical work. We learned how to put the skills we had learned in action. We practiced our coaching skills on each other.
Try to introduce Gaelic games for as many people as possible, as many children as possible. So for the past few years we have had students from St. Columkille's community school coming down, working with our 3rd and 4th class, boys and girls, hurling and camogie on Wednesday afternoons, where they come down, they work individually or in pairs with small groups of children, doing basic coaching skills and games with them.
The highlight for me in 4th year was GA skills. It gave us a great opportunity to get a qualification for coaching young people. Since completing the course, I've done the nursery every Saturday morning and summer camp as well. I've been playing GA for Bowden all my life, and I think it's good to give something back to the club.
The Ballyboden Academy takes place every Saturday morning in 3 different locations. Our main clubhouse in the Furrows Road, McLoughlin Park and St. Enda's Park in the Harmbridge. It gives the children a great opportunity to get one-to-one coaching from transition year students as well as our own academy coaches.
So as you can see there, that's the way the TY program works in what we do in our local secondary school. And it might look like there's a lot of work involved in that, but there certainly isn't. I mean, it's about, you know, the club approaching the secondary school, the principal, and saying to them, look, listen, I'd like to offer you this foundation award course, you know, for a group of your transition year students, and that's all it involves. And you go in, you do it, but the important thing is you link them back to your nursery. And you know, you may be part of clubs where not all the kids in your secondary school or in your transition year group would be members of your club, but that doesn't matter because there'll certainly be a proportion of them. And the first time that both myself and Brian delivered this course in our local secondary school, we had 20 on the course, but only about 12 of them were club members. But out of that 12, we got 5 or 6 of them that came down to our nursery every Saturday, and we held on to them, and that was a massive reward for the work put into the course. So, you know, there are different elements as we've identified them, key ingredients, as we say, that are very important in the recruitment of your young coaches within the club, your young players in the club, down to become coaches. So I'm going to pass you back to Brian now, who's going to speak specifically about what we did with these coaches then, once we had them down, once we had them active, and it's going to speak specifically about what we call our Forbairt coaching program. Thanks very much.
Mate, thanks for that, Paul. I think you'd agree that it's a very well put together video, and again, that just shows the importance of having this link with the TY students and the secondary schools. Just 3 of the girls who were on the programme with us in the TY programme turned around and said, do you mind if we do a little video of the year, a clip that they could use in their school and we could use in the club. And again, of course, it was great for us to get the video done, but them girls have also done other bits and pieces on multimedia for us in the club. So again, once you create the link with the school, it's actually more than just coaching, work can get done. Just to move on to the Forbairt program itself, just to talk first about the picture on the bottom right hand corner there is actually Connor, who Paul spoke about a few minutes ago, and I think that was him with the under 14 team in the club 3 years ago. I think we can't underestimate the value of having younger coaches involved with teams, and whether that's a senior player or a recently retired senior player involved with a minor team or a 16 team, or whether it's a current minor involved coaching and helping out with under 10 or 11 team, these young players really look up to these youth coaches and they kind of see them as role models and they hang off their every word, and I suppose they're not their parents either, so it makes it a bit easier for them to listen to them. It also teaches these youth coaches a bit of responsibility too, and it gets them involved more than just their own team, gets involved in different aspects of the club. So it's a really important role for these young coaches to get back down and involved with the younger teams. The Forward Pro, so Forward being the Irish for Development, was just a name we put on this pilot scheme that we ran last year, and I have to stress it is only a year old and it's in its infancy, and we are reviewing it and upskilling it and upgrading it the whole time. The problem came about because we had these bank of youth coaches, as Paul described. We recruited them through different means. So we had this bank of youth coaches, and we said, right, now that we have them in and have them hooked into coaching, into the club, how do we develop them? And what are we doing to upskill them and support them in their coaching career? So what we did was we went and we picked a certain amount of them. So whether that's picking 5, 10 or 15, it doesn't really matter how many of these youth coaches you pick. I suppose what we decided was we weren't going to pick everyone. We said we ended up picking about 15. We said we'd pick 15 that showed enthusiasm and interest in coaching, and I want to kind of go on and develop their coaching, and they were well prepared for their sessions and all that kind of stuff. So we made it kind of an invitation only, kind of a group, and so when we rang the coaches and explained to them this is what we're thinking, this is what we want them to become a part of, and if the group wanted to come on, they all jumped to the chance of getting more support and getting more help in terms of coaching. I'm just going to go through the nuts and bolts basically of what we did, how we set up the programme, how we ran it for the last year, and then I suppose some of the success stories and some of our future hopes for the programme. So I'm going to go through each one of these. That's just a picture there in the background of the group we met in Ballyboden on the first night. Back last April was the first night we ran it. So just go through it. So the personnel involved, the club administrator is a very important role, and whether that's a full-time person in a club, a coaching officer, a juvenile chairman, could be anyone here that would say, I'll take on this role of for the next 12 months of running the Forward programme within my club. So this person needs to know the youth coaches within the club, needs to have a good rapport already built up with them, needs to know what the programme is about and how to drive on the programme. They're the ones overseeing it, and they're the ones overseeing the meetings and the workshops with the young coaches, and they're the ones kind of that the coaches come back to in the first instance if there's any issues and any challenges that they're facing. The head mentors that I'll be speaking about now in a few minutes are your current mentors, so some of you guys are current members of the mentors with younger 13s, 14s, 15s, so current juvenile mentors in the club. And again, these really have a critical role. These can make or break the programme. Okay, so if a youth coach goes down and helps out a team and the head mentor doesn't welcome them or doesn't give them this meaningful role within the setup, it was very easy to see how the youth coach would just walk away after a few sessions. So these head mentors have a vital role to play. And as I say, the young coaches are our participants, and again, under 16 to under 21, and they're picked based on how much coaching they've done, how much of an interest they show in developing their coaching. Our roadmap, I suppose how we went about doing things, this is what maybe I'll spend a few minutes talking about. But basically, October 2013, our then chairman of the club, Terry O'Neill, and coaching chairman, Brendan Moran, held a meeting in the club, a kind of review meeting across the 4 codes with all the juvenile mentors. At this meeting we discussed where we were in terms of our coaching and teams and recruiting and where we come from, where we were, and I suppose our challenges that lay ahead. A few very good things came out of this meeting, and a lot of different policies in the club were formed from the meeting. But one of the things that came out from our side of things, from the coaching side of things, were a bit like our academy mentors, some of our nursery mentors, some of our juvenile mentors felt that although they had playing experience or limited coaching experience, that maybe as the kids grew up and kids got to them at 13 and 14, they found it harder to coach them. Maybe the kids' technical skills improved beyond what they could coach or they could help out with. So we identified under 13th minor as being a critical age where we needed to get these youth coaches involved to assist the coaches that were already there. I suppose the fact that they were still playing and they had the technical and tactical skills that Paul spoke about was the critical thing to get them involved at this age group. So Paul went through how we recruited the young coaches and thankfully the different ingredients to that, and that worked for us. We did get a lot of youth coaches involved. And again, the selection process, as I said, was literally selecting 15 coaches that we felt deserved to be on this programme, and we would put the time and resources into them. The most important part then was the follow-up meeting with the mentors. So we assigned these youth coaches into 2 different teams in the club from under 13 to minor. The teams they were assigned, and we brought in the mentors to them teams. This really was where we felt that the main emphasis probably needed to go on. Them mentors were the ones that were going to have the time and they were going to have putting in the effort to bring along these youth coaches. And it was important for us to explain to these mentors that these youth coaches needed a meaningful role within the session. What do I mean by meaningful role? I suppose they needed to have a role in the planning of the session. Okay, they needed to have a role that maybe they'd be told for the next 4 weeks you're going to work on tackling, and you work for 10 minutes on each of the next four sessions on tackling, or shootings will equal us when we're not getting scores. Will you work on a few different shooting drills or shooting games for us over the next few weeks, or will you design a different warm-up, maybe something new, something fresh that we're not doing. So the coaches, the youth coaches came down, they felt part of the setup, the overall setup, both in the planning and in the carrying out of the session. I suppose where we fell down previously was, and it's fair to say that some of our mentors wouldn't have given these youth coaches in the past maybe meaningful roles, and they might have, examples of that would be that the youth coach will come down all mad, eager and active and ready to take the training session and be told, listen, will you referee the game over there, I'm taking the drills over here, or will you go behind the goals there, we're doing a shooting drill, will you go behind the goals and kick the balls back to the kids, or even what happened not recently enough in the club was youth coach going down to take to the training session on a bad winter's night and find there was no team there. This would happen 2 or 3 times, they wouldn't get the text, or the communication would break down, players get the text, but the youth coach wouldn't. And it was easy for us then to see why these youth coaches would turn around and say, oh, this coach is not for me, I'm not enjoying it. So that was really important. The mentors, the head mentors of each team knew that they had an important role, a vital role to play in harnessing the enthusiasm and the energy of these youth coaches. The initiation period then was very simply me, Paul, and Paul O'Neill from our coaching and games committee. The 3 of us would had 5 coaches each who we'd follow up on. And we'd say, right, well, in the first 2 or 3 sessions that they go down and help out the team, we'd make a phone call to them, or we'd try and meet them, or we'd try and pop down to the session and meet the head mentor, just to see was there any issues, how they're getting on, and just so they knew there was a support network there for them. And again, if our thinking behind it was, if we could manage to keep them through the first few weeks of helping out the team, the likelihood is they're going to stay coaching then. Okay, so that was kind of just what we did at the start. Our overall plan was to hold bi-monthly workshops, and again, it's important that we realise that these youth coaches they're all players and they're all studying different levels, maybe college or school, so it wasn't to put too much extra work on them. So we actually ran 7 workshops or meetings throughout 2014 with them. I suppose what we did at these meetings, the meetings were on a Monday night. We usually picked a Monday was due to the night that the least amount of them were training themselves. So we just had 1-hour meetings on 7 Mondays throughout 2014. No meetings during the summer, obviously, with people away on J1s and that kind of stuff and leaving certs. So what we did at the meeting was the first 15 minutes or 20 minutes was spent doing group work and getting feedback off the coaches. Simple questions like, they're putting their groups of 3s and 4s, and it was like, how many sessions have you done since the last meeting? What you do in the sessions, how did the sessions go, what you found worked well for you, and what challenges you were finding coaching the group. And again, what we ended up getting was we brought the group back in then and we discussed what people's answers were and each group's answers, and we ended up getting this community of learning with 15 coaches around the table, both male and female coaches, coaching across the 4 codes, and they're all discussing and having chat about coaching and what they were doing with the teams they were coaching with, what they weren't doing, what they were finding it difficult to do. And through this group then we were able to kind of fix any challenges or any problems that coaches were having. We were able to, if a person was having a problem with a shortage of drills or games from our 13 team, or maybe the lad or the girl helping out in the 15s, we had to give them examples and give them help of, well, this worked for me, maybe you'll try that for your next session. So really the group worked, they're sharing ideas with their peers, and that really works very, very well. We were then from that, myself, Paul, and Polly would take away, okay, it's come up a few times that maybe communication is an issue. A lot of these have worked with nursery kids, and now they're working with them with 13s or 14s, and they're finding it maybe a bit more difficult to communicate with them, or some of them worked with boys before, and now they're working with girls, and they find it difficult to communicate. So we would take that information away, and at the next meeting we'd have like a 20-minute or 30-minute workshop on communication, or we have a 20-minute workshop on how to plan sessions and that kind of stuff. And they're like informal workshops that we run just off the cuff, kind of on the basis of the needs of the group. If the group came up with a challenge they were facing, we would try and help them out with a small workshop and fixing it. Another thing that we did was brought in guest speakers throughout the year. I think no matter what club you're with, there's someone in the club, whether it's a captain of a senior team or a manager of a senior team, or maybe it's a local businessman or school principal, someone that can offer a bit of variety to the programme. And so bringing in a speaker once or twice during the year, again, kind of freshens things up and will add some value to the Forbairt programme. Last year we brought in Dave Sweetie, who former Dublin hurler, obviously Ballyboden hurler as well, and former captain of the senior hurlers in the club. But Dave works here in coaching games in Croke Park, and Dave would come in and spoke to the group about his own coaching experience, his own playing experiences, but also then about the GAALearning and development portal, which was a huge part of our Forbairt program in 2014. So basically he showed all the kids and the youth coaches how to log on and how to navigate their way through the portal. And again, this is open for every club member across the country to use. It's a matter of logging on and registering, and then using the site and using the resources on it. And the coaches themselves found this a great resource to have in terms of planning the sessions and getting coaching ideas and some of the articles and videos and stuff on the site, and even watching back from videos of previous conferences and that. They really got great benefit out of that. And one of the things that we were able to help them with, but we didn't actually need to bring them down to the club to help them. They were able to do it at home themselves through the development portal. We did the online foundation course as well through the GAALearning development portal. Again, although some of our coaches had already done the foundation course, it started as a great refresher for them. It's a new program. Some of them maybe 4 or 5 years ago had done the foundation course. I found that maybe now they're stepping out of the nursery and up in juvenile teams, that some of the videos and that on the online course really started as great refreshers for them, and giving them a bit more confidence, I suppose, going out and coaching. And again, the beauty of it was there were 20-minute modules. Do the module, answer the questions, move on to the next module, but they're able to do it at home themselves on their laptop or iPad. We did an online coaches forum as part of the group as well, and we used the page for that. We didn't really get enough traction, or the traction we would have wanted from the group on this forum, and it's something that we're reviewing and seeing for 2015 how we'll get more benefit out of it for the group. I suppose the idea was that they'd share session plans and discuss them and review them online, but only some of the coaches engaged in this. So again, it's something that when we look back on, we could have done better, or we will do better with it in 2015. Just some of the current successes as well with the programme and what our hopes are. Through the Forbairt programme, we developed a youth group within the club. We didn't have one before, and I suppose when we were setting out the Forbairt programme, we didn't plan to have a youth group, but that's the way it fell. So on top of the coaching, we also got great benefit of having this group of like-minded, same age people together. From the group, 7 of them came over to here to Forbairt to take part in a consultation day for youth ambassadors around the country. And again, they got great, they've gone great here, giving their views, and really felt being listened to from Forbairt and from the coaching against Forbairt and how to develop youths within clubs. And they came back then to us and to our next meeting, gave a presentation to the group on what they'd learned from other clubs and what they'd learned from the consultation day. 3 of our coaches also came over to the Ambassador Day last November, where they spoke on the Forbairt programme, and again got great experience from meeting different youth coaches, like-minded people of the same age from different counties and all across Ireland. I spoke on the shared experiences, and we did really create that community of learning where they felt free, they felt they could open up and they could talk about coaching and talk about how they were getting on and what their challenges were within the group, and answer each other's questions, which was very important. And the valuable feedback, I really think that the youth group that we had, and it's going to be the same in every other club, the youth group will give you honest and open feedback, and they'll be enthusiastic, and you can ask them questions, whether it's on coaching or 1 or 2 things myself and Paul were doing in the club, different projects we were running. We'd run by these youth coaches and say, listen, we're doing this in the club, do you think it's worthwhile doing, or would the club players buy into it? And again, we will tweak things based on the feedback we got from the youth coaches. Just on the coach and player development, definitely the youth coaches would have got a help from the programme, but the coaches that they helped out with, the head mentors of each team that they helped out with, like we all coach teams and we can all do with more help when it comes to coaching and when it comes to getting assistance on people who are currently playing or recently retired players. And again, the head mentors, the feedback from them was, yes, it worked, and yes, maybe I didn't use them as much as I should have, or I didn't use their knowledge base as much as I should have, because it was the first year of that. But again, it's the head coaches got an awful lot out of it. And as I said at the start, the young players who they were coaching were the ones who really got a benefit from it. Yes, they had better coaching sessions, maybe more improved coaching sessions, because they're being coached by current players or just recently retired players, but also they now have new role models. They can now go, another 10 player could go down to the club on a Sunday morning and watch the minor hurlers or senior football or football promoting team playing and say, oh, there's my coach playing. And now they have a real link with another team and another section within the club. Just our future hopes. I suppose we're happy with how things went in 2014. We did recruit a lot of young coaches, and we did with the Forbairt programme. I think we have upskilled and developed these coaches, and we've really got them on on a path now for future coaching. We will continue to recruit, and these coaches will become our future coaches in Ballyboden, whereas future youth coaches, young coaches, or future coaches of our adult teams. We're now building a pool of coaches and developing that pool of coaches into coaches that will be around for years to come. It's important that maybe not all these coaches will continue on playing, maybe, or not all these coaches will continue on coaching. So we're also building future leaders, maybe, and future administrators in the club, which are vital for the running of any club up and down the country. We're always looking for extra administrators to take on different roles within the club. So hopefully through this group, some of these members of this group will become attached to different parts of the club, even if it's not coaching. Just to finish off, I believe we have a strong identity in our club, and all clubs have strong identities, but I think it's important we build that identity and make it stronger. We don't want our club, and none of us want our clubs to be seen as a facility where players come down, they train, they come down, they get fit, they come down, they play matches, and then they go home. We really don't want that. We really want players to feel a sense of belonging to the club and to the GAA, and the more we can get them involved in other aspects of the club and giving back as well as receiving, the stronger the bond they will have with the club, and the more likely we are to keep them, I think, playing or keep them involved in the club even after they finish off playing, that they're now linked in with different teams in different sections and maybe to stay involved even after they finish off playing. So I think we've started the process of building a stronger club identity, and I think it's something that can work in every club. Just to finish off, that's really our presentation. Hopefully we got across the two main things we wanted to get across were the recruiting of youth coaches, why we needed to recruit youth coaches in the club and how we went about doing it, and then when we had them recruited, the Forbairt program that we ran last year, why we set that up and how we used that to develop these youth coaches and include them in the decision making and include them in the planning of sessions and include them in kind of different sections within the club and developing them as people and developing them as players and coaches as well. So just on behalf of Paul and myself, I want to thank again Coaching Games for inviting us here to present our case study on behalf of Ballyboden and Enda, and thank you guys and girls for your attention and for listening.